Law enforcement and government agencies struggle with parking citations, often because no one will pay them. Boots or other devices are costly, and they invite confrontation when implied and later removed by enforcing employees. With Tire Tag, you can avoid many hurdles and ultimately promote public safety and revenue collection. To learn more, visit tiretag.com. Welcome to Blue Grit Radio, the podcast that explores making better cops for a better community. I'm your host, Eric Tung. I've been an active police officer since 2007. We will dive into the aspects of police culture, health and wellness, leadership, and mindset. You'll hear from experts not only from policing, but all industries as they relate to being our best with purpose, passion, and positivity. Join me as we share stories, lessons, and advice so we can all be better for ourselves, our teams, our families, and our communities. Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Blue Grit Radio. This is your host, Eric, and today I'm going to be exploring a prompt, a suggestion from feedback from one of you awesome listeners. And it's been pretty sweet to get a lot of questions, feedback, comments, and ideas lately. Some folks sending some significant leaders in their own lives and careers, nudging, that maybe they should come on the show. I also have a prior guest who has been on the show with his own feedback, and we were sending some messages the other day talking about more of the good stuff that our policing industry needs, and that is none other than Lieutenant Ray Polk. He is from episode 160, How to Be a Humble Leader. And the fact that we even have some title like that in an episode that's done pretty well in the scheme of things says that we need a lot more of it, right? I think we have an abundance of managers, an abundance of supervisors, and shot callers, but not necessarily leaders in the true sense. We have controllers. We have people that will get people to do what they're told because that's what the rank does, right? Let's flex those bars, let's flex those stripes. Or you can build a healthy culture where people want to do the things that you're trying to get them to do, not because you require it, but because you are including them and you are engaging them, and you can find alignment. Even though not everyone's going to see and think and believe exactly the same thing, we can get enough alignment when we actually just take the time and investment. And so with that, today's episode is going to be focusing on 5 tips, 5 principles that we can all employ to support organizational health, organizational culture, right? So is that team aspect. And so without further ado, number 1, model the behavior you want to see. Okay, we've heard this so many times, like be the change you want to see in the world, but it really is that. So I say it so many times, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to shout it from the proverbial rooftops, but it is not what you say, it's what you do. And also, leadership is not about your rank. It's not about your rank. It's not about your title. It's about ownership. We need everybody to lead from their role, from their own position. That's even boots on the ground. That's especially boots on the ground. Right? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Oftentimes, some of the most significant leaders I've known in my career, in my life, and still, day to day, like I'm in the mid-management command staff role, some of the most fantastic leaders I work with have no rank because people want to follow them, and they absolutely do not have to. There is nothing making anyone compelled to follow them outside of sheer belief, influence, and buy-in. So a quote that goes along with this principle is from Stephen Covey, and look up his material. He's very accessible as far as his writings and speaking and concepts there, but what you do has far greater impact than what you say. Okay, again, it's action, not just words. Number 2, recognize and appreciate people. Value your people, right? In any team culture, any organization, it is the people that are our most valuable resource. Stuff is stuff. And even when you put it to dollars and cents, as I've said before, for those that think that these kinds of conversations are soft and fluffy, your people are your biggest investment as well, right? It takes a long time, especially in our industry, to train up someone that's quote unquote proficient. It takes a long time. And then it takes an extremely long time. It takes many years until an officer gets to extreme proficiency, right? Where they're very reliable, they need very little interaction or guidance, I think everyone can do better with some interaction and some guidance, but they're autonomous, right? They are self-reliant, they're internally driven, and so especially in an industry like the public sector, public service, where people aren't incentivized to work harder per se, generally, right? It's not like you're getting quotas and you're making more money off of that. It's just dollars for time. We all make the same amount of money for our role and rank, despite how some people work easily 60, 80% harder than the person next to him or the person in their squad. It's just a thing. So let's truly appreciate those that show up. Let's truly appreciate those on our team that are doing the work that we are asking them to do. They're going above and beyond. And simply put, people just need to feel valued. Like it's just a part of being human, right? You need to know that you have some significance. And there's a lot of ways to show that. Everyone's an individual. Everyone receives motivators and language and communication or communication of value differently. And so know your people. And a quote to go along with this one: people work for money, but they go the extra mile for recognition, praise, and rewards. And that's from Dale Carnegie. So, how to influence, what is it? How to win friends and influence people. And I covered that one with my buddy Trevor here on the show. A lot of takeaways from that classic resource in that book from the 1940s, something like that. Yeah. So regardless, on that piece, as we talk about recognition, praise, and rewards, that can be different things for different people. That can be an actual award. That could be recognition. You're writing kudos. You're publicly recognizing them, or you're just having an intentional conversation. A one-on-one. Because some people really aren't about that praise, but they are about connection, or they are about opportunity. Hey, whether you say it or not, the hard charger on your crew or the person that's doing all the details that no one else really wants to do because they just have a good freaking attitude. Well, they also get to do some of the fun details. They get to the front of the line for training opportunities. So there's that. Number 3, communicate openly and transparently, right? So we know trust is an absolute game changer, whether you have it, how much you have of it, or if it's just completely amiss in your organization. How your organization functions will be a byproduct of how much trust there is. And one of the best ways you can affect trust is through open communication. So, opening those lines of communication where people can absolutely come to you, regardless of your rank and role. They can come to you with the real talk in a professional way. They can come to you with the not so good news and not get punished for it for being the messenger, but also sharing concerns, right? Sharing opportunities and ideas. Just as bad as not being able to share bad news is not being able to share good ideas, right? Because oftentimes, truly, good ideas require work, right? They require people to do work to put them into action. And I think everyone's had some sort of a boss or maybe a peer that has shirked off good ideas because it means more work for them. And while you should not just accept every idea and all the work with it, you should be able to be a part of that catalyst, especially as a supervisor, as a boss. It should be receiving that information and maybe putting some things into practice or identifying some things that need to be done, where that person that brings the idea should absolutely have some skin in the game. They should absolutely have some ability and some desire to do some work, not just bring the idea. Of course, no one likes the good idea fairy, but also for the person receiving it. Let's put our hat on. Let's put our thinking caps on, and not just naysay all the reasons why not. Like let's consider them for success. So you can play that out, be devil's advocate to a healthy degree, but then also ask, why wouldn't it work, and what kinds of things would you need to make it work? Who should you engage, on the team to get buy-in in this thing? So again, just communicating openly and transparently. So number 4 is to empower and involve everyone. So we have a team, and our teams are comprised of several people. Let's actually make sure we're getting some value out of everyone, and we're paying into them. We're investing back into them by giving them the tools, by giving them the microphone, by giving them a role, a responsibility, purpose, right? So we can all recognize that all hands on deck can get you a lot further than, 60% of those bought in and 10% kind of They're kind of there, kind of helpful, kind of not, and then the other 10% are just, kind of dragging. So let's engage everyone, because if people are feeling like they're invested in, then they will be more invested back in, right? So it is getting everyone involved, and so you can really, really move things. I think we all recognize the difference of being understaffed, and so there is that. But let's do the most with who we have, and likely we will also create the right environment to bring more people in a healthy culture, a healthy attitude, and real purpose and mission. So, a quote along with this one: leadership is not about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. And some folks that love to nerd out on the leadership material may recognize that this is from Simon Sinek. Number 5, and the final tip I have for this little dose of conversation, quick little doses of leadership ideas and organizational culture tips, is live and reinforce core values, right? So if you want to see it, you got to be it. And if you want to believe, you got to be. So enough wordplay there. Culture is built on values. We have to recognize that by doing what we truly believe in, by recognizing our values, and by putting that out into our atmosphere, our environment, our organization, that does have an effect. We talk about energy being contagious, and negative energy is absolutely contagious. I've even heard positivity is slightly less contagious in studies where they put everyone in a room and have a purposefully positive or a purposefully negative person. And unfortunately, in the study, there were findings that negativity seemed to spread more, right? So, the negative Nancy or the sad Stan, trying to be equal opportunity here, had a more corrosive effect, a more significant effect than positive Pat. All right, Pat can go both ways. I'm reminded of like 90s It's Pat the movie. So for those that are in my age demographic or older, perhaps you'll remember that one. Um, but anyway, we will move on past that. Um, So yeah, you got to be it, and you got to contribute that. And oftentimes, because negativity may be more pervasive and more significantly impactful than positivity in those types of studies, then we just got to recognize that if we're going to be positive, we have to bring that little bit extra or that lot of bit extra. And I have a quote from Peter Drucker: culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture is built on values, and by reinforcing them, you can align actions with purpose, make sure everyone is connected in that purpose, in that mission. Strategy is absolutely important, right? Without strategy, you don't have a roadmap of where you're trying to go, right? So if your mission, your goal is what you're trying to do, strategy, strategic pillars, a strategic plan. For those in policing, you probably have a boss or a big boss that has drafted this strategic plan. And that is absolutely pillar, right? It's absolutely paramount that you have a roadmap to get you where you need to go, like breaking it down to specific goals and tenets. However, I would venture to suggest that culture is what's going to make that plan work or not, right? You could just kind of push people along and micromanage and delegate and make sure every little chunk happens at a certain time or on a certain timeline. But if you really want it to work, if you want people to adopt it and truly embrace it, that's the culture that we're talking about, right? So 5 steps, I'm going to review them real quick, or 5 tips. Again, it's model the behavior you want to see, recognize and appreciate people, communicate openly and transparently, empower and involve everyone, and finally, live and reinforce your core values. So I hope you found that helpful. As always, it is extremely, extremely appreciated. It is extremely, I suppose, rewarding or gratifying or whatever positive word you want to think. I'm probably feeling it. For those that are following along and sharing this out, one of the biggest compliments I can get or you can give is to share an episode that helped you out, right? You got something from it. You shared it with a buddy, a coworker, some of your people, maybe people in your organization said, hey, these are some ideas. There's a quote in here. I'm the messenger. These are not novel ideas. I am just extremely passionate about packaging and repackaging and rewording and adopting and sharing my reflections on what's helping me as I try to learn this thing. And I'm never going to have it figured out, because that is the student mindset that many of us recognize is it's all part of the game. You got to keep working at it. And with any luck and a ton of effort, you're going to be making some positive changes, slowly but surely. And I think that it's responsible to recognize that in any industry, but especially ours, policing and government and first responder work, like slow and steady is not nothing, and it's absolutely meaningful. So we got to be patient, we got to be purposeful, we got to be positive. That's enough P's there. And again, I appreciate the shares. I appreciate the reviews on Apple or Spotify, whatever your player is. Those do really help. The analytics and all the back end stuff. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the free newsletter. Go to bluegritwellness.com. It'll pop right up, throw your email in there, and you will get summaries on what I've been working on, podcast episodes, and unique content to the newsletter. So that includes gritty thoughts and some wellness tidbits. They're generally pretty quick reads, just quick doses of kind of positive mindset and ideas that you can take into your day to day, your week to week, your teams. And so, yeah, that is the thing. Please and thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for following along in this journey and continuing along. And as always, provide any feedback, questions, things that help you, and stay gritty. Oftentimes, there's a lot of candidates that want to take the next step in the organization and promote. However, they find themselves at an impasse with where to start. Or they know where to start, but they know that there are so many different elements that are extremely arduous, challenging, and stressful to prepare for. I've prepared a guide because I want to help everyone, no matter what their confidence level is in public speaking or recognizing the different elements or how to show up your best way and highlight your leadership style. So for more on the guide, you can find it at bluegritwellness.com. That's the promotional guide at bluegritwellness.com/shop. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Blue Grit Radio. As always, support this community by subscribing, giving us a 5-star review, and following, liking, and sharing posts on Blue Grit Wellness on Instagram. You can reach me there or email me at bluegritwellness@gmail.com. Be well and stay gritty.